fact that Fletcher brings in Connolly, freaking
leprechaun.
He brings in Connolly, has already given him the sheet music earlier that day.
Yes.
Okay.
And then asked them immediately to test out.
To test out. What a psychologically demented mentor.
He's
a human, right? To do that and to pit them against each other in this way.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Chums. We're chatting about movies, feels like hanging out with friends. I'm your host, Marcel, and with me as always is my co-host, Danny.
This week we are discussing the 2014 film Whiplash, directed and written by Damien Chazelle, starring Miles Teller, J.K. Simmons, and Melissa Benoist.
Benoist? Supergirl?
Yeah. I forgot that she was Supergirl.
Yeah, right. I think right after this, she got the role.
I will say this. I want to also showcase the editor, Tom Coast or something like that. I had it in, but he did a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm.
This movie won 4 awards, I believe.
I believe so.
And some pretty big ones. And I'm very excited to get to it. But first, before we move into the movie, to remind you to please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, because we want you to get notified when we release new episodes, because we love having you here. It is truly... Why? Not really. We do this podcast because it's for us. We love talking about movies.
Yeah.
And we've become our real chums together.
Uh-huh. That's true.
And we want you to come be a part of that by listening to the podcast and joining the conversation via YouTube, via email, via social.
And share. Invite your friends, right? The more the merrier. We're getting a lot of engagement on YouTube. And it's just fun having the conversations there on the stuff that we're doing on YouTube. So yeah, please follow, subscribe, and always, please, please, please share. That's how we get discovered.
Yep.
Also, quick reminder, we're taking a break in December. So we have this episode and then next week's episode. And then we'll be taking a break in December as we get ready for the holidays, end of year. We'll be returning back in mid-January with our season 2, which I'm super excited. So we'll be releasing episodes throughout the month.
Yep.
They're previous episodes, so we're just re-releasing them. It's a great way to... We're going to pick out our favorite 10 episodes, and then and that's what we'll be re-releasing. So it's a great way to jump in, learn, and engage with us that way.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So let's roll that intro.
So, did you watch Supergirl? I don't know why. We brought up Melissa Benoist. Did you ever watch that?
I think I watched 3 episodes, maybe 2 episodes.
Yeah.
I had I burned out of the CW
Because of the Flash.
It wasn't the Flash. Okay. I enjoyed the Flash, but it was during the Flash, one of the breaks from the Flash when they were doing some of their other shows. Okay. I mean, they had Supergirl, and at the same time they had the Tears of Tomorrow or some other garbage.
Legends of Tomorrow. Garbage.
I just was like, what's happening here?
Why? Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think they did a good job. Starting. I think Green Arrow. I loved Green Arrow. I don't know if I love it as much anymore, but I think it was a fun story to go. I mean, it was really enjoyable. They did a pretty solid job for the most part. I think it became CW. It became standard television where episodically you rinse and repeat at some point, and that's never fun.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Did you?
I watched the first season of Supergirl, and actually really liked it.
Sadie, you liked it.
What kept me going back and watching was what's her name? Harrison Ford's wife, Ally McNeil.
The one who's the agency head, right?
Yeah, she's the head of the
yeah.
She's the head editor. What's her name? Ally McBeal. Callista.
Yeah.
So she was, I think, the best thing of that show. But then they moved filming to Canada, and she was like, "No, I'm not moving to Canada to film this."
Bye.
And so like she didn't show up the rest of the season or of season 2, and so I was just like I watched the second or the first episode of season 2, and I was like surprisingly, like that character is really missing here. Like she kind of kept her in check, and like was like she was an awesome character, and I just stopped watching.
Yeah.
They did what, like 5 seasons, 6 seasons, something?
They did a lot. They did quite a bit of seasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some stuff on my feed because we are on Real Trump's feed for Supergirl, like clips.
Mm-hmm.
Because
now we get bombarded with the algorithm just sends us a bunch of clips.
React to this video now. Which, by the way, we do trailer reactions. Let's be honest, we do those for you. Okay, we do the pod for us.
Well, yeah, that's true.
We will eventually find some other format for YouTube that we can do that will be fun for us. Not that we don't enjoy doing the trailer reactions.
No,
for the record. We just want we know that you guys love them, so we got to give the people what they want. Question of the day.
Do you have one?
What is excellence?
Wow. Okay. All right.
Just kidding. We're gonna try to answer that question by the end of this episode. No, the real question is, did you ever have a professor or a teacher that when you watch this movie, you're immediately reminded of?
I don't think so. Like I'm thinking of like my band teachers, even like sports. I don't think so.
I didn't have one at the level that this as Fletcher is.
Okay.
But I definitely had a couple band directors. I had a band director that had his moments of I don't know what the term is, of being erratic.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, he did throw a chair at a wall, a cement wall,
Okay.
and it put a hole in it.
Uh-huh.
And then he's like, I can't remember what he wrote on the wall. We were like playing some song, and we weren't like getting what he wanted, like the impact or whatever. And so he takes his chair and just chucks it and hole in the wall, and everyone's there. It's like the legend.
Way to like have this enough self-awareness to not chuck it at the student, but chuck it at the wall. So good for him on that.
Yeah, no, he never was like aggressive. Like I never had a teacher or something that like yelled so rudely at us. Well, okay, maybe in college there was a couple of times when we got like, you know, the be better students lesson, but it wasn't like nearly as degrading and just
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, like my band teacher, I think the worst he ever did was like, he would yell and like let out his frustrations, but he was old. Like he retired like 2 years after I left. After like I went to high school, but like he just, I think maybe once he threw his baton. I don't.
Yeah, but that's a classic, man.
Yeah, like I don't think it was like anything like the insults that Fletcher does here. Those insults are so. Wow.
Oh, let's.
Oh, here's another question of the day.
Oh, yeah. Give it to me.
Was he rushing or was he dragging?
Okay, which time? No, I'm just kidding. The initial one, right?
Yeah, the initial one.
I think he's probably rushing.
I think he was rushing, right?
I think for a lot of it, he was right on time, but he was playing a psychological game with him.
Yeah.
And then he was rushing.
Oh, this movie. Okay, let's jump into it.
Ooh, okay. You give the breakdown for Whiplash.
So Whiplash, it follows the story of first year, right?
First year.
Freshman, first year student at what?
I don't know what the college was. I can't remember off the top, but
the top university, music university in the country, and he's wanting to join the studio band. That is led and conducted by the teacher, Fletcher. And he soon joins and finds out that it is something completely else, but wants to continue to perfect his craft and his skill set. And this leads to a very weird relationship between him and his professor.
Weird's a very
toxic.
There you go.
Abusive.
Gaslighting.
Damaging.
Relationship. We can keep going.
Talk to me about so you've seen this handful of times, maybe.
Actually, this might be my third or fourth time.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly. Dude, I have some weird allergies situation, and I'm like gonna have to rub my eyes the entire thing. I'm just also so emotional.
He's emotional. This movie hit a little bit too close to home.
Too close.
My
relationship.
Do you remember watching this the first time? Did you see it in theaters?
I did not see it in theaters.
Okay.
I wanted to, but it was like I remember being talked about, and I remember it. I saw it after I found out that it won the best editing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at a time when I was like really wanting to kind of go through some of the movies that won best editing. And this movie is something else watching for the first time. If you watched it, if you are listening to the pod or watching it on the pod right now, I want to know honestly right now in the comments, or sending us an email at you're@realchums.com, or sending us a DM at realchums, what your experience was watching it for the first time. Because my first time experience was so, it triggered, like it, for whatever reason, triggered me hard.
Okay.
And I think part of it's because like there's this feeling like I feel like not that I want to be great or anything, but because I'm Latino and I want to showcase that I'm succeeding for my parents. And that, to me, there was something about like, no, I'm going to continue doing this. Like, I think the only reason why I stuck with music for as long as I did, I mean, until I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
But like kept me going was the fact that like I knew that I could go to college with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I loved it, you know?
Yeah. Interesting.
Did you watch it in theaters?
I did not. I remember hearing all the hype around it.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype for this movie.
A lot of hype, right? And I'm pretty sure I saw. Yeah, I did. I saw La La Land first before this. So I saw
think
this.
so too.
I saw this like 5 years after it came out.
Yeah,
it'd been a while, and
because La La Land came after this movie.
Yeah,
I was gonna okay, we have to talk about that. We didn't talk about the background of the story of this movie.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't want to cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
Look, this movie. I think the other portion of this movie that I love about it is that it's the story of a true, like, what filmmaking, when people talk to you about how to get into the business, this is the trajectory that you think about, or that people tell you. Write a script, make it good, try to go something. If no one's doing anything, do it yourself.
Yeah.
Show them why it's good, right? Damien Chazelle, he that's what happened to him. He tried to get it. People kind of like, there was buzz about the script. People were thinking that, oh, this might be good, but execs couldn't catch the picture. They didn't feel what was happening. But like any good writer director, they've already got the edit in their head, right? They're thinking of this maybe not the full edit, but like the shot, the sequences of like what might be happening or whatever. And so I don't know how or whatever. I don't know the full breakdown on this portion, but he pairs up with J.K. Simmons and his son, I believe.
Oh, is it?
I think it's son, or I don't know. It's got the same last name. Johnny Simmons is in the short film version.
Yeah, it's not his son.
But they have the same name, which is weird. Anyways,
which J stands for John. So
yeah. Is it John Kennedy Simmons?
I don't know what the K is actually.
Me neither. Christopher. Anyways,
Christopher with a K.
No, but they shot the sequence of the first time that Andrew is in the band after getting pulled, and it's that sequence. And there's a great breakdown that was on Vimeo. I think it's still on Vimeo. It might be on YouTube now, of like the short film versus the standard film and how they kind of like showcase and helped, some of the differences, but in the aspect, and it was really great. But because of that short film, it won a ton of like awards and some like hype, and like that solidified the winning like trajectory for Chazelle to do the feature length film. And like it's awesome to like, that's what got him, kind of set the tone, I think, then, which I think lands him perfectly for La La Land.
Yes. Yeah. And also like this is also, so Damien Chazelle played, he was a drummer in high school, in junior high, growing up. And so he's, if you ever watch any behind the scenes and how he talks about this movie, like this isn't autobiographical, but he does take a lot of elements from this, from his own personal life. So again, going back as a writer director and him saying, I'm going to take something from my own experiences and turn it up. He did have a teacher that a drumming teacher who discouraged him from continuing playing. And he was going to go to college as a musician. And then he finally, as an undergrad, he's like, you know what? He had always also had a love for filmmaking. And so finally, when he had that professor discourage him because of how aggressive he was, he as an undergrad, he made the change to filmmaking. So it's going back to that and being like, having this little piece of experience, saving it to then do a short film that blows up, and then doing a full length feature is so awesome. It's so great. And then there's that one scene when he's finally talking with Fletcher at the bar. Yeah. And he's like, well, aren't you afraid that you're going to push someone away out of discouragement to continue to play? And he's like, no, then they weren't the right.
They weren't the great.
Yeah. And that was him kind of writing out these feelings to his professor.
I'm so glad that you bring this portion up, because I figured it might be get down later, but I was thinking back to as I was thinking and prepping and I was finishing the movie, back to my time in college, because so I got a not a full ride, but a pretty good scholarship to go to play trombone at Weber, and I did jazz band, wind ensemble, and then marching band. And in jazz band, we ended up getting a new director the second year, the year that I came back from the blip from my mission. And when I got back, the professor was a really super. He kind of picture Simmons, maybe a little less still built but a little less maybe lanky. Because Simmons is kind of long, when you see him on screen or whatever. But this man, he's 2 or 3 PhDs, something crazy, super. He composes all a whole bunch of different things. He was just a really smart, very driven individual. And he was a trombone player, so I would have private lessons with him. And look, I wanted to practice. Okay, I practiced. I got it. I did what I needed to do to be able to play the music and whatever. But was I practicing as much as some of my fellow musicians? No. Did I want to be better? Yeah, but my environment at home wasn't the most conducive to feeling encouragement in practicing and that sort of thing. And I remember one day I could feel maybe his a little bit frustration that I didn't do what I needed to do, right? Mm-hmm. And I wonder if he had called me out in a personal meeting, not aggressively, okay,
not throwing a chair at you
or slapping me in the face. Okay, let's be honest here. That's a crossing lines, right? That's assault. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, it is.
But calling out yo, if you don't want, if this is not something you really want to do, if you don't look, I get if you don't want, because I wasn't a music major. I had a minor at one point, but then decided to do something else, right? Mm-hmm. So obviously I got a degree in digital media, but for me, at the end of the day, I was I wondered, I'm if he had said Danny, is this really what you want? But there's this line of they need players, they need trombone players, because not a lot of people play trombones, or you got everyone and their dog playing trumpets or flutes, you know what I mean? If I would have stepped up to play or whatnot, I don't know, but it's a good question. It's a good thought. For me,
it's a unique thought, because I think I've shared this with you privately, but so I played saxophone, right? And I had a high school teacher who decided to then not advance me to the next level of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so he kind of held me, and this isn't me saying oh, I'm so good. No, it he straight up said look, I can't advance you because
it would
this class or this band would struggle.
Yeah.
And then I later found out that a lot of kids were advancing, or not, because they were good. Definitely, they were good. But they were also going up to him and being like, "Look, I can't be in this band because that's when bio AP is happening." So he would push them up so that way they could be in band. And I wasn't taking AP biology. Okay? Like I wasn't. So I was like, that's not fair. So because he wasn't pushing me enough, that whole year, I think I picked up my saxophone. Keep in mind, I went from like practicing at least an hour every day, Monday through Friday, to picking it up maybe a total of like 18 hours in that whole year.
Yeah.
And it was great because like the music we were selecting was very basic, like below basic. And I was just like, I was embarrassed. Anyways, so I didn't, I dropped out.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm upset. I'm glad I made the decision. And he's like, no, please don't. And I'm like, nah, man, like, advance me. You know I don't deserve to be here. But he didn't. And so I
stopped.
I left.
Which is tragic.
It is tragic, but it's whatever.
I mean, look, here's a couple of things that I think, as someone who was in music, okay, I spent a lot of time at a college level, not like elite, but it was like Weber State is kind of an art school. We have a really great art program. Musicians that go there are great. They do really good job, and there is like a level wanting they put in a lot of work. Like they have some fancy. They had when I was there, they had to end up getting some of the fanciest pianos that you could get brought in as part of some like great like partnership or whatever. Anyways, needless to say, it is brutal.
Oh yeah,
look, musicians get one credit for their class, but they're like 2 hours long, and you're required to do additional things. You're required to maybe be in like 2 different bands because you have to be, maybe there's not enough people, like, you know, in case at one point I was in the wind ensemble and the like the other band. So I was doing 4 bands, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I still ran a part-time job when I was doing it too. So like people who didn't do that, like that's where I didn't have time to practice as much as I wanted to. Right. And so, it takes freaking so long to graduate with one of those majors. And it's like so rough because they're always trying to test you to see if you have a will enough to do it. You know, and so I think there's like this other level about the musician game that like that happen that I think this movie does actually a really phenomenal job depicting. Where should we start?
What I want to ask you, how does the narrative structure of the movie contribute to the overall tension that we feel?
Okay, so
starting from the beginning, how is it structured to build this tension? Because there's a lot of tension throughout this movie.
There's a lot of tension throughout the movie.
What do you think the movie does so well early on that structures that tension for the rest of the hour 40 something minutes?
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about it. What do you got?
I love the first act of this movie.
It's strong.
It's a very strong first act.
Well, I mean, I will say that the editing of like the cityscape as they kind of leading into the character is beautiful with the music and jazz. Like you got, I don't remember what the track is. I should have looked it up, but it's a strong jazz track.
Yeah. And
so you have this cutting the flavor of the city of like setting up a very specific tone.
Yeah.
And by tone I mean like the images, like the color, the gritty darkness.
It's at night.
Right. That you get from this quick little montage beat thing that does, I think, to a degree, set some visual tones for the film.
Definitely. Because after that, we then cut to the hallway, right?
Yep.
We see Andrew in the far distance. He's perfectly framed in this hallway, and the camera just sits there for like a good minute as he's practicing, and then it starts moving toward him, right?
Yep.
Look, this first act of this movie is beautiful because we are introduced to Andrew practicing off hours, right? Late into the night.
In some basement.
Yeah. What's his face? Fletcher shows up. Just
Like Batman?
doesn't even say anything. Just listens to him. He stops, and then what does he say? He's like, "Why'd you?" Or I think I have the
Yeah, do you have the script?
the script. But it is so smart. Just like, oh,
Housekeeping.
Yeah, but we're introduced to him, and like he tells him to play different styles, different rhythms, different measures, and like.
Yeah, but that conversation sets the, like, from the very beginning is super tense. Like, because the initial thing is like, why'd you stop playing? And he doesn't answer him necessarily. And then he follows up with another question that he doesn't quite answer.
Yeah, so I have it right here. He's playing. He says, "What's your name?" Andrew Neiman. "What year are you?" "I'm a first year." "You know who I am?" "Yes." "You know what I do?" "Yes." "So you know I'm looking for players?" "Yes." "Then why did you stop playing?"
Yeah. Oh yeah. Then you. I don't know. Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, and then he starts playing. He does.
Did I ask you to play?
Did I say to start playing again? Like such mixed signals, right?
That is the line. That is the line that sets the tone for the rest of the film. That makes that line is what makes the whole the film, or the rest of the film up until later.
Yeah.
That we're out of tune.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
If we're gonna go musical metaphors for this situation.
Yeah.
But that's a moment when he becomes a little bit sharp. Okay. but it is. It's that line. I distinctly remember to this when I was watching it. That I was like, "Oh, freak that line."
Yeah.
And I didn't until you freak that line.
But it's such a great way to introduce him. So we see that, right? Then he asks us to play some rudiments. He does, and then he's playing, and then he just leaves. Leaves.
Not only leaves. Wait, does he slam the door? No, he doesn't.
He leaves. He comes back
for his jacket.
Oh, whoops! Forgot my jacket, and then just leaves again. Nothing, right?
How would that make you feel?
I would just be like, all right, screw you, man. Like, whatever. Like, say hello, say bye, or whatever.
What do you want, man?
Yeah.
No. What do you think? Oh, sorry.
Oh, but then I love that we then switch over to him and his dad, to
Yes.
Andrew being with his dad. And all he says is, he saw me playing today.
Right.
So smart. I think a much lesser capable writer, would have probably added like 5 lines of yeah, so I was at school, Dad, and guess who walked in, and like blah, blah, blah. Like added way too much exposition to this, right? And it's so efficient to just say he saw me play today.
What is it about the character that we needed to understand from these 2 scenes?
About what character? About
Andrew's character.
One, he obviously wants some level of approval from this man. Okay. And 2, we know that he's talked about this before in the past, off screen, weeks, years ago, who knows, right? That he just casually brings it up to his dad. Therefore, this is important to him.
Why does he not say? Why does he not? Why do you think Chazelle did not write what you would have done? Or even I?
Because Fletcher is the embodiment of, in my opinion, of the Jaws shark. You see him very quickly here. We later see him like behind. He's back at school with his regular band. They're practicing. You see him through the window, this silhouette, right, of a man. And even the players are like, look, he's listening, right?
Yeah.
And then you see him walk away. It's this mysterious, threatening individual that we as an audience haven't been given information about who he is and how he is. Okay.
Right.
And so I think it's such a threatening level. Again, Fletcher is just like this embodiment of the Jaws shark in human form in a music.
What an interesting...
Because, yeah, right, Jaws, we don't see him till like way later in the movie.
Yeah.
And you feel his presence. You have the music telling you that the shark is around. Same thing here almost. It's just this being that they're not afraid of him because they don't know him yet, but we are given this kind of not ominous tone from this being.
Do you think the first act is long?
Yes, it is.
When does it switch to the second act?
It switches when he asks the girl out on a... No, not when he asks her on a date. Oh, I wish I would have tracked it better. Because the first time he goes to studio band, that's still all part of the first act.
Right.
And that whole segment of him arriving, being introduced as a squeaker.
Dude, that's a freaking long segment.
That all is like over 20 minutes.
I know. Well, that's the thing is I'm reminded how much this movie moves fast yet slow.
Yeah.
Fast yet slow. There's a really strong Sour Patch. This is a Sour Patch movie, my guy. Okay, it's sweet then sour. Immediately after, or sour then sweet. Or no, this one's sweet then sour.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
because I love. Okay, Sean's in the studio today, but he knows. When I worked at UVU, we were in this, we called it Club 506, and we were in this like big den of like 6 cubicles, and it was this big kind of open space. But every time I walked in, everyone would always be losing their crap because I would bust in. Not that I was like trying to, I just was walking with a purpose. Okay,
I was walking
with a purpose, and I'm reminded about this with freaking Fletcher.
Okay.
He doesn't just set this ominous feeling around the school, because you see it for like a small glimpse from the professor, who's only in the movie for like less than a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, but his one experience of having another professor not come in. Okay, let's make it true. Barge in.
I love the sound design of the door. Okay, first of all, go. Yeah,
but I know the feeling.
Yeah.
This man has a purpose of what he's trying to do. Okay, do I condone him barging in on this situation? No. Do I fully respect that the man's on a mission? Absolutely. Because I've been on the situation where I'll walk in and people are like, Danny, you've got to stop just barging in the door. And I'm like, nah, I'm walking with a purpose. Okay. But he not only comes in, he dominates.
And tears down. Like, he goes through the brass section, has them play two bars, and okay, done. He looks at the one girl. Are you really first chair, or are you just because you're pretty?
Cute. Yeah.
Right? Oh, it's because you're pretty. Even before that, he looks at the music sheet that the professor has. And he kind of like smirks at it, scoffs at it, like, oh, I'm above this. He even says the line of like, he chuckles and he says cute to one of them. He's like, all right. And then like just tearing everyone down. And this is like our first real interaction with him. Yeah.
And it is so strong. Because well, it's not the first interaction. It's the first portion of a reveal of the level of this man. Or
we get a sneak peek into his arrogance here, because then we fully see it in that first studio band rehearsal, right? Which that takes like 20 minutes. He walks in, everyone's just, no one looks at him in the eye. Okay. He just comes in and just commands the room and starts having people playing, right? He calls out Andrew. We have a squeaker, and then here's someone flat. Oh my gosh, that one player.
Poor Fudd.
He calls him Elmer Fudd. Okay,
poor dude. That's probably what that would.
And then in the end, like, he wasn't even the one that was flat, right? He just says
he says for the record, or Andrew or Smith, you were flat, man.
Yeah.
But what so and so didn't know if he was flat or sharp, or if he was out of tune, and that's even worse.
Yeah, and that's even worse, right? And he just like kicked him out. And then, which I love this aspect of the movie. One, if I hate Fletcher. I genuinely hate this character, right?
With a burning passion.
Yeah. But then they take a break. He goes and puts his arm around Andrew, asks him about, tell me about your parents. Are you the only musician, right? You see a human in there. And the movie, I think, is very smart to do this.
Yeah.
Right? Later in the movie, we see behind the scenes at a festival, a former student and his daughter introducing to Fletcher, and Fletcher's like, "Oh, great, you're playing piano. Are you when you grow up, are you gonna come play for my band?" Right? Internally, I'm like, "No, little girl, run away."
Yeah.
Right? But like we have these moments, and also the Casey, the former student who dies, right?
Yeah.
Like Sean Casey. He cries. He breaks down. It's so smart for the movie to show us a human,
A sweet side,
manipulative, right? But
Yeah.
a human here. So that way the whole time we aren't just hating the character because he's horrible.
It's because he's got complexity.
Right.
Okay. Look, he tells Andrew, Andrew, be at studio band 6:15. Okay.
6
o'clock.
6 o'clock. Don't be late.
Don't be late. Is studio band at 6 o'clock?
No, it's at 9.
It's at 9.
What a dick.
Why would he So the question is, why does he do that? This is really where I think we can talk about the fact that like this movie is about the obsession with perfection.
Yes.
Okay. Now here's something that I think is also, I think this movie, you have in our notes we have abusive relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If this was another film, same sort of maybe same setting, but it was a female, I think it could have been there. But I think it's so smart for it to be not male female.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, this, trying to like, but it's not about a gender. It's about the relationship of an abuser and abusee. For that. However, the other portion of this is how obsession for perfectionism can really cloud your perspective of what's healthy.
Okay. All right.
All right. And this movie is, and it could maybe it's not about a perfectionism. Maybe it's about excellence or an acceptance, right? But this movie does a beautiful job at riding the emotional roller coaster of us trying to understand what is the ploy for this movie. Because I think, when I first watched this, I don't think I caught that this is about excellence. I literally just like, this is a movie about pressure, about abuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of what does arrogance look like in a world that isn't about power? This could be happening in America right now, in a studio band in some part of the country.
Yeah.
Where some kids getting asked, were you rushing or were you dragging? By the way, I'm a rusher.
Are you?
Yes, very much so.
I think I was too. Yeah.
100% I'm a rusher.
No, I love that because I think the first time I saw this, I was like, what a toxic relationship this is portrayed. Yes, it is. And I hung on too much on that. But I faulted Fletcher a lot my first viewing.
I agree.
Right?
Yep. Actually, I think it's this watch that I understand a little bit more about the film.
Yeah. And this watch for me was like, yeah, but Andrew, like, you're also obsessed with this perfection, right? And we see that scene when he's back home with dad, aunt, uncle, cousins. I don't know. I think the script says that they're cousins. But he talks about like, I would rather die at 33 and have people talk about me forever than live till I'm 90 and go unnoticed.
Yeah.
That lays out who Andrew is.
That's the the reveal of understanding who Andrew is. I think it's really unique. Andrew's father's character.
The contrast between him and Fletcher too. Go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we get so much Fletcher, but every single time we see the father, we know that his mother ran out on them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just his father and him. Okay. So he's an only son. He only has dad. They have a good enough relationship that they watch movies together
Every week. Yeah.
every week.
Yeah.
And that his father wants him to be successful, wants him to, or at least to do what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he didn't have that. But we also see at times these small, and I think this is Damien Chazelle's amazing cinematography, his directing prowess and writing prowess of only adding in the written portions. There's not actually a lot of dialogue between the father and the son.
No.
But when he's in the actual acting portion of it, the power that comes from little moments that we see on reactions from Andrew towards his father, where he recognizes that his father gets pushed around. It's so small. It's these small things that you wouldn't think, but because of how aggressively large the scope from what abuser is to these small nuances, in the eyes of Andrew respects and loves his father, but he also looks down at him, thinking he hasn't accomplished anything.
He hasn't accomplished.
Which is why that table conversation is so brutal.
Yeah.
It's not for Andrew. I think it's for the father, right? The moment of recognizing that, like, because the father sits back and he's allowing his maybe cousin or brother, I'm going to say older brother, to demoralize his own son at the table, right? And like
allowing it to happen.
Allowing to happen, or then a sister or whatever, sister-in-law, to ignore him completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's where he lets those frustrations out there.
Right.
He's seeing that, yeah, dad has sacrificed. We have a good enough relationship. But like you mentioned, yeah, I like that you point that out, that there is some, I wouldn't even say resentment, but just feeling that you've kind of like have been pushed around and have allowed it to happen.
Or defeated. You know, like,
defeated,
he's like, look, I just want my, he loves him, but he's not doing anything with it. And for whatever reason, he has found acceptance in the man he's looked up to and wanted to be there. Not acceptance, but intrigue or drive or something. I don't know. I don't know what he sees in freaking Fletcher. Do you know that? Do you have a feeling of why Andrew wants Fletcher's? Is it acceptance? Is it approval?
Affection? I want to get to this because I really want to talk about the last scene. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, we gotta. This is gonna be a little bit longer. Let's go a little bit longer on this one.
Okay, let's go a little bit longer.
What? Okay. So there's a lot. Let's talk about the two scenes then. The car scene, the crash scene.
Oh man.
And and then the final scene.
Okay. Also, just before we go into that.
Yeah.
Adding to this, who Andrew is, it's solidified with his breakup between him and Nicole.
Yeah.
Right? You're gonna hold me back. I'm gonna resent you. You're gonna resent me. It's better that we just break up, right? Like, I need to achieve greatness. I need to achieve perfection.
Right.
And you're just a factor that's gonna get in the way.
Yeah.
Like, what a cold. Again, I hate Fletcher, but the behavior also from Andrew.
Yes.
That almost mimics and mirrors Fletcher to a degree. To say, you are just getting in the way, we shouldn't date anymore.
Well, but not only that, but I think like the people you you respect as someone who has found excellence, how they are, you want to emulate. The biggest form of flattery is emulation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So Andrew he sees, okay, in order for me to be great, I must be tough.
It must be tough. And perhaps treat people in a certain way, similar to how Fletcher does.
Yeah, and I think Andrew's still learning, but Fletcher, I think, learned the nuances, and that's why we see these small pockets of a human.
Yeah.
But it's because he's got such a very narrow view of what what he believes is to be required. The scene, the very few dialogue scenes that are like monologues moments are some of the most, I think, like closet, personal depth revealing moments of the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you brought up earlier, it's a little bit of a love note from Chazelle, but also for the identity of this film of like, what does it mean to be great? And what is required in order to accomplish it?
And what links, what extremes
Yeah.
do we go to? Should we go to for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
Freaking Andrew. Okay.
I just want to touch. Look, I love that the tension buildup, for the battle for Caravan, is insane. It's absolutely psychotic. The fact that they bring blood, they wipe the blood off my drum kit.
But prior to that, the fact that Fletcher brings in freaking
leprechaun.
He brings in Connolly, has already given him the sheet music earlier that day.
Yes.
Okay.
And then ask them immediately to test out.
What a psychologically demented mentor.
He's
a human, right? To do that and to pit them against each other in this way.
Yeah.
Right? To see who's going to be better or who's going to win me over almost.
Yeah.
Right? Because later, but later we hear, right? After he's been fired, it's spring or summer, and what's his face? Fletcher invites Andrew to come play at JBC, right? And they're like, well, why don't you?
Which I think is a jazz and blues conference, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
And he says, why don't you ask Connolly? He's like, Connolly was just motivation for you.
Yeah.
Why
would you do that?
Why would you do that? And also, at that point, if it was me, I'm like, oh, F you then.
I know.
Like, I'm not going to go play for you then.
No.
Anyway, we'll get to the final.
Look, all I'm saying is that the fact that then contributes to the fact that he's like so pissed that he's then like he's stressed out because of what the environment he has to be in, that he knows that if he loses this opportunity at this one competition, that he's no longer going to be able to be core.
Yeah. Right?
So he's stressing, trying to go get his stuff and do things. The music, tension, the build up for this moment where it drum and then cuts, hits, and him going to freaking drum and no one not stopping.
No one seeing him. I have it in my notes. How is no one concerned about a kid showing up all bloodied
and playing the drums? How is it that this competition didn't like, hey, I think what's going on here?
Yeah. Look, I know you got to suspend some disbelief.
Right.
I get it, but still,
Come
like it's a little bit ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
That whole interaction, like the fact that he tells them, be there early, give yourself enough time.
2 hours.
2 hours. Bus gets a flat tire. He has no idea where he is. He has to get a car. You see, I love the use of the camera as he picks up everything. And you see the sticks being left behind, and it just lingers enough,
bro.
And you as a viewer, you just feel the oh no.
Absolutely. Chazelle has done a masterful job with I don't know who the cinematographer. Let me think of the cinematographer of this film. To depict such Sharon Mayer get shots that truly are some of the most intimate and deeply feeling shots I've ever that I'm reminded of when I think about cinema, because there's shots of when there's so many shots in this film that we don't get a lot of establishing shots, and if they are, they're very like we get the hallway shot of him deep down long in a dark hallway shot. We get them getting ready to go on stage, or a wide shot of how people's feeling in the presence of Fletcher. Every other shot is literally like 85, maybe not, maybe even tighter, where you only see the individual's face and emotions, and you hear everything as background. Nothing else is important. Right? I love so much in some of the first act and second act, we get these little moments of Andrew, people having conversations and things, but we don't like fully hear anything.
Yeah.
He's so
in
focused.
his zone.
Yeah, zoned, right? Yeah. Which then is more amplified as we see these things happen in this scene of Andrew getting hit by semi.
And it's also like from the visuals, right? The tension that's building up. But also, this is the first time we see Andrew kind of standing up for himself.
Yes.
And he calls him out. And he's like, no, that's my part. Like, screw you, man, and F you and all this stuff, right? Like, no, like, I'm going to go get my sticks. I'll be right back. And like, he's finally, like, calling him out as well.
Right.
In the same way that Fletcher would, right? Yeah. So I love that. Like, also, like, the visuals, the music leading up to it, but also from obviously the performances, but the screenplay, to make the decision to have your character now stand up for himself and push back adds to that tension as well. Leading up to the car crash, showing up, and then
getting dismissed,
but then like jumping on, lunging at Fletcher and attacking him. I love that. I was just like, yes, that's what I've been wanting to do this whole movie.
I know, but it's like it's again psychotic that no freaking other. They stop him. They bring security guards after he attacks him.
Yeah, but
whatever. It's fine. I get it. But it feels. I think honestly, that's the one moment. I feel like it feels. Not lose it entirely, but I just get a little frustrated with the fact that like,
how did no one
like
show concern?
Could it have been better if like they're like, no, we're not going to continue. He needs to go see a doctor or whatever. And then Simmons getting upset at him for costing him this opportunity to win, and then having a fight. That to me might have felt a little bit better. But it's about the tenseful perfectionism of the set, right?
Yeah.
Which you get with the dropping of the stick and all this other stuff. So you get that there, but I guess that's less of a human. It's more
right.
So it's not necessarily what they were going for this story.
Also, freaking like you drop the stick, Connolly. Pick it up for him, dude.
Don't be freaking leprechaun.
Freaking Connolly, dude. Okay, so let's jump into the final scene. Okay, prior to this, so we find out that he gets kicked out of the school. We find out that Sean Casey did not die in a car accident, as Fletcher said, rather committed suicide. And his parents have said that he's been suffering from depression and anxiety, and it all began when he started attending
studio band with Fletcher. Which again shows you who Fletcher is.
Yes, which is so unique because that first time you watch the movie and you see him cry and take a moment of silence and put Sean Casey's music on, and he was achieving greatness and no one believed in him, but I did, and blah blah blah. That's when you see this human in this character, but then to find out that he was just lying about the cause of death, right? He probably doesn't know, like, at this point that, oh, dude, you caused him depression and anxiety, and that's why he committed suicide. He doesn't know that, but like, this is how he's projecting this, or how he's changing this story to better justify his behavior, right? So anyway, so then Andrew's asked to testify against Fletcher. We find out later that Fletcher loses his job. He gets kicked out. Case was successful.
Good job.
Whatever. Good job, right? He later bumps into him at a jazz club. Fletcher invites him to come perform at JVC at a big jazz and blues festival because he needs a drummer.
He tells him we're gonna go through the old stuff. Caravan,
Whiplash. I need someone. Think it over. Cut. And now we see him getting ready for it.
Right.
Let's talk about technical aspect of it. Is there anything that stands out to you from this last scene? From this last
at the performance?
At the performance.
Dude, there's so much, bro. There's so much. I think the editing, the cinematography of like close up of like what, like I said, what they did, the use of close-ups versus like wides. I mean, it's cinematography. Like, we have to make the one distinction. He goes up and he says he opens up before he goes like, this is where, you know, you might be able to get it, you know, into, this might make you as a musician. Okay. Yeah. He gets up there and he announces what they're going to be playing, and it's him shafting Andrew. Yeah. Deliberately.
He told them they were going to play the old stuff, and then it turns out it's something completely new.
Now look,
and everyone has the music for it.
There are prodigies out there, okay?
Yeah.
But even if you are, that's a mind mess. You're getting screwed over in the mind.
Right.
And that doesn't put anyone in the right place.
I wrote in my notes the extremes that Fletcher is willing to go for revenge.
Yeah.
To shame. Yeah. Whatever it is, right? Humiliation to boost up his own ego, right? To the point that like you're at a festival and like you're willing to sabotage yourself to screw someone else, right?
Yeah.
I hate Fletcher.
So
then it like he gets dismissed because he's embarrassed, whatever, but he comes back.
Yeah.
Why? This is where I want to dig into this. Why does Andrew go back? Does he go back? And let me frame this, okay? Like,
yeah,
he's been humiliated. He's been screwed now multiple times by Fletcher. His dad hugs him. He cries a bit, and then he takes off his coat and he goes back.
Yeah,
and then he just starts playing. Does he go back to continue to win Fletcher's affection? To prove to him that I am good, Fletcher. Look at me. Does he go back to prove to himself that he is good? Does he go back to, or is it a combination of the both?
I think it's strictly for revenge.
But why are they towards the end, right? So he keeps playing. He cues in the bass player, right?
Yeah.
Everyone starts playing. He makes eye contact with Fletcher. He tells him he's gonna pluck his eyes out. It's so good. J.K. Simmons, man, so good. But then they start vibing, okay, to the point where the song ends. He keeps playing,
right,
and he says, "I'll cue you in," right, and then they have this moment, and I love the final scene.
But the thing here's this is what I was saying. Like, look, in the first portion where they have the mess up song, everything is like, it's not wide, okay? It's not like full wides, but it's context, right? It's this, you're kind of the audience seeing what's happening.
Okay.
Right?
Uh-huh.
They have that moment with the father. Andrew comes back. I do think it's about him proving himself for himself, but also for revenge at the end of the day. Like, I think it's like this, or to get back, like, no, I'm here, I'm going to show, right? So it's like, I don't know, it's a weird play. There's a lot happening, okay? But then all of the sequences in this thing is nothing about the rest of the stadium. You don't get really another shot, except for when he starts playing again, and you see Fletcher pissed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fletcher's pissed, and he, because of that feeling, it then transitioned to like some of the best editing, fun beats, to like these shots that are like on some of the band situation they're having, but a lot of it on like the drumming, and I love the overhead piano shot down.
Yeah.
Like, and then we have a huge sequence, but when we get to the point where it's Fletcher and Andrew coming to a weird term, to a weird, I don't know what the word is.
A mutual
An understanding.
An understanding. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So they come to an understanding of one another. Fletcher then says, "Maybe I was wrong about being wrong, or I was right about what I felt and what I was doing." And it's him realizing that, no, I do what I do because of this. And Andrew finding some sort of acceptance, but you get such a big close up, like literally an extreme close up of Fletcher's face, and then the thing of Andrew, that you don't actually see him smile, like you just know he's smiling.
Andrew.
Yeah,
is that? Yeah.
And no, I think Fletcher too.
Yeah. No, there is. Yeah. I'm playing it here real quick.
Are you watching it right now?
Yeah, I have it pulled up. Because there is this, I just love that, right? He goes very slow. He tells him, "I'm gonna cue you." They look at each other. JK is like, Fletcher's telling him to like bring it, go faster, right? And then to the point where he finally like, they look at each other, and I love just you're absolutely right, the edits here.
It's so good.
But then,
sorry, real quick. No,
go ahead.
They had to actually what's the actor's name?
Miles Teller.
Miles Teller. Actually, he was a drummer, and he did a lot of he did the majority of the drumming in this. But there was a couple of things that they had a professional drummer do, and because Fletcher doesn't, or Andrew doesn't, or Miles doesn't actually have the most proper technique. And I know some musicians have noted that like it wasn't like quite respected.
Yeah.
But this scene is like absolutely like is actually, they had to individually like go in and try to get the hit, because there was like somewhat of it like an error. Like there's some like crazy editing magic that's happening.
Oh yeah.
In the sequence.
Oh, definitely.
And some of these slower portions and faster stuff that is like, when I was reading about it, when I was doing some of the research for this, I was just like, that would be crazy to like, almost like, if like you're almost having to become, as an editor, you're almost having to become perfectionist because of what's happening.
Because of what's happening, yeah. Okay, so what happens, right? They're playing, and then it kind of slows down. You get a close-up of Andrew.
Yeah.
He's looking at Fletcher. But it's interesting because you see all of Andrew. Fletcher's cut, or it's just his eyes. You see a little bit of the cheeks, and you see him kind of smile, right? It cuts back to Andrew. Andrew now gets the big old smile, and then Fletcher cues, and it ends. Cut. End the movie. It's those last 10 seconds that to me is, did he do this to prove it to himself? Is that smile finally like, I got a smile from Fletcher. I got his affection. We talked about this affection, right? And I also love a few minutes earlier when he's going hard on the solo.
Yeah.
The camera cuts to his dad. Now in outside, opening the door. And there's huge debate about this among other people that I've talked to. But like, I see horror in the dad's eyes, of that his son has become too obsessed with this, too obsessed with wanting perfection, obsessed with wanting approval and affection from his teacher who has abused him for years. That's what I see from the dad's eye. Maybe I'm just projecting, because if my kid were ever in this kind of environment, I would just be horrified, right? But that's how I interpret it.
But is it? I that's an interesting take. I don't know because I was thinking about that, right? on another level, is it so horrifying, but also because you realize that maybe that he was on something there, and like that this was like for him, he needed this sort of like pressure to get to where he is at currently, and that he may it's a different son that he thought he like. I don't know.
Sure. And this is why I love this movie, because it's left ambiguous, right? For us to decide.
We don't know what happens.
We don't know what happens after this, right? Very well, like 10 years later, maybe he did overdose on drugs and but he lived to be the greatest, and people are going to talk about him forever. But going back to that, that shot with the dad, it's a shot. He's opening the doors. He's centered. He's framed on the camera. And it's just, you just basically see forehead to like a little bit of his neck. And it isn't like a, yeah, you got it, son. It's a look to me of fear of like, what has happened to my son, to my boy, right? Yeah, I'm sure he's like amazed of this. And it's a slow zoom into the dad for maybe 5 seconds.
I know. I'm like, where's it? What's the timestamp on that?
Timestamp is...
Oh, I know what it is. Okay.
A minute 38-ish? Sorry, an hour 38.
Yeah, hour 38. Because I want to...
There's 8 minutes, 8 minutes and 4 seconds left.
We are left not having a release of applause. We're given a culmination of what is it? Is it this for Andrew, right? Or is this for Fletcher? Is it for the both of them?
Is it for the both of them, right?
Is this about greatness? Or is this just about messed up people who have a perspective of...
Who need the approval, affection of an abuser and of an abusee who needs to continue to abuse or
find someone who that feeds them while they feed like having this, because it's like this weird, because all the other students, they're there out of they want to be out of fear. Oh, and excellence.
In excellence, yeah.
But it's not to the level what Fletcher wants.
Elmer Fudd didn't come back, right? Like he didn't, right?
Right.
Why does what's his face, Andrew, come back? To achieve greatness, to please the abuser. It's fascinating.
It's freaking fascinating.
I choose to believe there's it's a little bit of both. I think he goes back, he proves to himself that he is great. Okay? He does go back, and I think, again, that last shot of the eyes of Andrew, the smiles they give to each other, it's finally Andrew getting that acceptance, that affection from his teacher. All the abuse was worth it for that smile. And I think it is also, what's his face? Fletcher finally being like, okay, yeah, all right, you are good. You did it.
Dude, I'm looking at his father.
Yeah.
He's totally terrified.
He's terrified, right?
When you look at it just as this...
And especially going back to that dinner scene earlier, that Andrew says, I would rather die at the age of 34 and have people talk about me than live till I'm 90 and have no one mention me, right? And that's the look of the father right there. Just says, yeah, he's gone down this hole.
Yeah. What a whiplash, bro.
What a whiplash.
No, this is this movie's phenomenal.
It's incredible.
Honestly, I can't watch it very often. It's heavy for me.
It's heavy.
It's like, I think there's some part of it is because I think that there is I resonate with it. Not that I want to relate for the record, but this, when someone comes to me and they say, do better, Danny, I have a bad problem of wanting to, like, my wife, she's like, you didn't do anything wrong. It's okay. Mm-hmm. But I beat myself up to probably a little too much than I should.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, I want to, you
want to achieve greatness
in my family or with I want to help provide the best experience for the people I love or I want to be with, right? And And it's only with those very select few that you have like and I don't like. I think part of it is like for Andrew, maybe it's like he could have still been a really amazing musician if he went to some other school or whatever and had like a normal relationship with a band director who wanted to push him and encourage him and whatever. But for Andrew, this desire to be at the best school and to play with for the best quote unquote director, seeing what it takes to be there for something for him, again, feeding each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just,
it's great. It's powerful. I love this movie. I don't watch it often, but I have to like watch it from a technical perspective, right? And not get too invested into the characters because I just get like, oh, Andrew, oh, Fletcher.
it's emotional.
It's emotional.
You get, even as you look at it as a father, like what would I do? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
The lawyer scene where the dad is like, why are you protecting this man?
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
So great. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and episode. We'd love it if you subscribe so you can never miss another Real Chum episode on whatever platform you might listen to your podcasts. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to leave a review and also to sign up for our newsletter where you get a fun little phone wallpaper that I make and notified of all those new episodes in your inbox.
But more importantly, what did you think of Whiplash? I want to hear your thoughts. Tell me what you think. What is this movie telling us at the end? Is he going back to an abuser? Well, I would love to know your headcanon in here. What did we miss? You can always follow us on social at Real Chumps or email us you're@realchumps.com. I'm on Twitter at Marstrosity, MARZTROSITY.
I'm at Rubio_TV. Join us next week as we watch The Holiday.
We are going from one extreme to the other. In our movie watching. This will be our last episode for this season, and we want to watch The Holiday because it's a great one. It's an incredible movie,
and we need to leave on a high, like a lighter note.
We need to leave on a lighter note. So go watch it and come back.
We'll see you next week.
Later.